Hi everyone watching this video. Yeah, especially dyan sa church. May God be with you and continue lang kita daw sa an instrument dahil Senyor na atong bida. So continue lang kita and thank you for your dedications and time ali na church. So the reason why yasite video is that I will teach you and show you pakilaya easy way to understand the Old Testament or the storyline of the Old Testament in the Bible. So I will teach you the basic, no? And we will remember those storyline or we will remember those story using hand sign. So basically, man-use kita hand sign para hindi kita ubida ang mga story. So easy lang ito, easy to remember because yeah, usa nga kita usa hand sign para hindi kita ubida okay mga story. So in the Old Testament, manadali story, manadali events, from the creations and the fall, no. So basically, sinya ko na stedes, akil mga events. So yeah, man storytelling yung na stedes, but in that ways, we will use an hand sign to remember those story. So are you ready? Actually, pwede kita usa school, teaching Sunday school in our church or teaching them pagilaya man panel Old Testament, the story, for example, the story of Noah, ganun. So meron siya mga hand sign in order for us to easily remember it. So we'll use our hand to remember each part starting from creations. Um, Tonight or today, we have a 5 sessions. So we will going to walk through the Bible in Old Testament. So we have 5 sessions. So for the first session is that the beginning. So this covers the Genesis, and we're going to learn kita 4 events. Remember, 4 events and 4 people. So kung sa 4 events, So here's one of the first event is the creations. Since we are talking about the beginning, syempre na creation kita. So again, natin, we're going to use hand sign para hindi kita ubida. So here's the hand sign of creations. Put your hand like this and make a big circle. Example, creation. Again, put your hands like this and make a big circle. Creation. God is big, so basically you're going to make a big circle. Creation. Because God took nothing, and out of nothing, God created everything. So again, out of nothing, God created everything. So basically, God made everything and all things. And He made the planets, the sun, the moon, the stars, and He took one of these special planets that's called the Earth. He put the water on it, and all the different creatures to the sea and land. So the animals and life. And toward the end of the creation, God made the first man, Adam, and woman, Eve. And little while later, He made him a wife. So yun na nga si Eve. And then, they live perfect relationship with God. So yun. They live perfectly relation with God. No? One of these creation is this Eva and Eve. Adam and Eve, rather. So Adam and Eve both believed the lie of Satan. Eventually, they believed the lie of Satan way back dun sa Garden of Eden. Again, what is the first sign is creations, and that's the first events, the creations. And then we'll kita na story the Adam and Eve. They both believe the lie of Satan and disobey God by eating from the forbidden tree that they supposed to stay away from. And because of the fall of Adam and Eve, sin, death, and death begin into the world. And we will go into the next events, and this is what we call the fall of the human race of the whole world. So the hand sign of el hand sign na is that anante el creation kita ento, and now stay your hands like this, and then since it is a the fall events, basically drop your hand like this, fall, ganon. So again, creation, fall. We're going to the third events. Humanity becomes so corrupt because of sins. God loves the people, but yet He hates sin. Because He is holy, since the people are being corrupt because of sin that spreads faster than the virus, so God sends a global flood. You remember the story of Noah? I know you are familiar with the story of Noah. So God sends a global flood to cover all the humanity. You have sent a flood because the people are so wicked. God sent a flood to cover the earth. But eventually, God saves Noah and his family and his daughter-in-law. And yeah, that's the third event, the flood. Again, what's the first event? Event is the creation. Creation, second, fall, and then flood. Flood. Yeah, that's the third event and third sign. So, for the flood, this is what God said: be fruitful and multiply and fill the whole earth. So they were fruitful and multiply, but suddenly they did not spread out. So basically, instead, man spread out sila, they stayed together in one place. So what they did, they built a tower in their own effort, and that was not the plan of God, or it was not pleased God. So you know the story of Tower of Babel. Yeah, we are now the story of Tower of Babel, and they disobeyed God. So what God did, God confused the languages and to spread the word out into nations. And that's the fourth event, the nation. Again, what's the first event is creation, fall, flood, nation. Nation because it's spread out sila and spread out sila. So, yun. That's the four events. So, now, anante, yun to kita, four events na mantok namin kita, four people. And, yeah, God chose Abraham who lives far away to the city of Ur. So God said to Abraham that he will make a covenant with him. So God promised the Lord he will make a covenant with him. And aside from that, God also promised that he will give a son with Sarah. Even though Sarah, umiyak kita story di Abraham, Sarah is getting old and the tormented man bore a son. But yeah, in God nothing is impossible. God give them children like stars in the sky. So yun yung promise niya kay Abraham. Because of Abraham was faithful with God. Grabe ang faithful talaga si Abraham kay Lord. So yun, we are now kay Abraham. So the hand sign of Abraham is that, yeah, since ganito man yung nation na spread out, ito yung Abraham. Abraham, because yeah, the stars, yung mga stars sa langit, and then, so, yun. That's the first people, Abraham. The event, the people that we are going to learn, to talk about. So, God promised Abraham a son, and his name is Isaac, which means laughter. So, yeah, basically, here's the end sign. Abraham, Isaac. Why is it like this, Isaac? Because the logic is that Isaac, he is the child of promise, and the covenant continues through him. So Isaac was born in a miracle. So yeah, he was born in miracle. Because every life God created is a miracle. So again, the sign is Abraham, and then God took the stars, one of the stars, and then that's the Abraham. That is Abraham, and then we're going to, yeah, this is the hand sign of Isaac. Parang nagtaka kita baby ba? Isaac. No, got it right. You got it right. So I hope you can understand lang ustedes, and pwede lang ustedes sige conmigo. So I am excited to share this inside the church. No, can you stay and share algo con ustedes? So ara, mag-video lang na para tienen ustedes idea na este Old Testament, the storyline of the Old Testament. Briefing lang, briefing. So after that, Isaac's son is Isaac has two sons, which is Jacob and Esau. So we know that Jacob wrestled with everybody, and most of the time he won. Taga na ele kay bueno mapersa sina, and he eventually wrestled with God. No? Parang talal pride, talal kwan. He eventually wrestled with God one night and all night long, and God asked him, "What is his name?" So Jacob said, "Deceiver." Yeah, and God said, "You're right." Eventually, God changed his name into Israel. Means God's prevailed, because we cannot hindi kita pwede ganang Senior because he is powerful than any of those things. So yun, Jacob. That's the third person. Third people na manlearn kita. Again, what's first? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, because he wrestled with God. Ganun. Jacob. Yes, Jacob. And then now, four people, which is si Joseph. Joseph was his father and mother's favorite son. And so they give him a special because he is palangga, di ba? Palangga. Sabi mo kita sa Joseph. when he is young, palanggat ele traditional na entata. So, because palangga ele, dali ko na special robe. No, kakamisa ba? Special robe and beautiful. And yeah, eventually, or suddenly, his brother and sister, yan selos, so yan hate ele kon ele. And they want to kill him, but instead to kill him, yan sort yan sila into slavery. Si Joseph, yan send ko nila na Egypt to be a slave. But eventually, si Joseph, ele he has a gift to interpret a dream. So, he interpret Pharaoh's dream, and later Joseph rises to power in Egypt. And yeah, if we read the story, yeah, he saved his family from famine because dyan ay kasi grande famine naliga during that time na land. So yeah, the family, Jacob and his family transfer to Egypt. So ala sila yakeda. So yun, including his family, no, yan save ele manada ente during that famine, or those people, and including his family. So Joseph. Again, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph. Why is it Joseph like this? Because yun na nga yung robe, yung beautiful robe, colorful robe na binigay sa kanya. So that's how we remember Joseph, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. So yun. Again, what's the 4 events what's the 4 events and 4 people? We'll start. Creation. You can follow me. Creation, fall, flood, nation, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph. Yes, you're right. Thank you for following me. So yun, that's the first session. And now we are going to the next sessions, sessions 2. So let's have a review. So yeah, we natin to kita 4 event and 4 people. And these are the 4 events: the creation, the fall, the flood, the nation, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph. Now, in creation, God made the whole world, then become the fall, as Adam and Eve sinned, like as we also sin against God. Then God sent the flood that covers the whole world, but He doesn't destroy everyone. A flood, Noah and his family and sons and his daughter-in-law saved. Then God confused the languages in order to spread the word out into nation. And the 4 people, which is Abraham, who became the father of nations, having many kids like stars in heaven, and then Isaac, one of these is Isaac, Abraham's son, miracle baby, and then Jacob, who wrestled with God, and then lost. He wrestled with God and lost. And then Jacob had 12 sons, and one of those is Joseph, which is the favorite sons of Jacob and his wife, and gave him beautiful robe and saved his family from famine and lives. So yeah, this is the first session. So we are now in the session 2, which is the wandering. So this covers the book of Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. The first session in Tokita is about the beginning, and that covers only the book of Genesis. And then we learned the 4 events and 4 people, and one of those is the last people is Joseph. So story is yan transfer sila into Egypt, family the Jacob or the Joseph. So they are now in Egypt, Kedah. So yeah, they are now in Egypt. So the king of Egypt, or Parao, is very powerful, and he was threatened by how Jacob family multiply in that land. Kedah manada sila yan, and make them. And what God pero did, so yes sila slave ko na stay sa lives, yes sila slave ko nila for 400 years, that's too long. So God raised a leader in order to lead these people out from slavery in Egypt, and He calls Moses. You're right, He called Moses, and the hand sign of Moses is this: Moses, carrying a staff because he has a staff. Moses. So yeah, God speak through him. And in 40 years, he became one of the best engineer architect of Egypt. And the second 40 years, he spent his time in the desert of Midian, where he encountered God face to face. And then he came back to face Pharaoh to free his people, and Pharaoh's heart became hardened. And that even God sent 10 plagues. So here comes the Passover. So why did he call this Passover? Because God said, when the flag of death comes to the neighborhood, it is the blood of the lamb on the doorpost of the house that will pass over. Again, if the death of flag daw man pass na di ila kasa, if kaya sila yamira ko no, kene sangre na dila doorpost, the death will pass over. So the hand sign of the Passover is this, Passover. So again, Moses passed over. And yeah, Pharaoh sees this because his son died because of the plague of death. So Yumuri el son del Pharaoh because they didn't believe. So God spares the Israelites during the 10th plague through the blood of the lamb on their doorposts. So yun. So after that, Moses led the people out of slavery in Egypt. So we know the story. The story not end there because Pharaoh get to chase and kill them. Yan sa kanila apa si Pharaoh. Yeah, this is a famous story. And I know all I will assume that nasabi kita story ni Moses during the time. So, ganun, no, until they cross the Red Sea and Pharaoh's army tried to follow them with chariots, but water covers them down, and then eventually they came to the place called Mount Sinai. So, tagay sila ng Mount Sinai. And some of us already know the story, so that at Mount Sinai, God gives Moses the 10 Commandments and other laws to guide Israel, relationship with Him and others' law and others. So yeah, at Mount Sinai, God gave the commandment to Moses. Yeah, that's the law. So the law, this is the hand sign of law. Law again, the Abraham passed over the law, and then the purpose of the law was to show us our need for forgiveness. So God just gives them the law, but also gives them the blueprint for the tabernacle. A mobile tent where God's presence dwells among His people, and the tabernacle is movable. They moving from one place to another place. So God shows His people that I am with them. It's not I am with them, but wherever you go. So here comes the tabernacle, and use the hand sign of tabernacle. Put your hands like this. Tabernacle. Okay. Moses passed over law, tabernacle. Yeah. So after that, God institutes offering and feast. So, offering and feast is the hand sign of offering and feast. For worship and remembrance, God shows and teach them to follow 5 offerings and 7 feasts. But God did not want us to obey Him, but He wants us to love Him. Hindi lang kay El Señor naman obey kita con Ele, but He also wants us to love Him. So yeah, offering and feast. Offering and feast. Yes, that's the hand sign. Then, we go to counting and spying. In the book of Numbers, and we are now in the book of Numbers, the people are counted and came up to 600k fighting men, and then they also numbered men 21 years old below, and after counting they sent 12 spies, one of each tribe, and we call this spying. So we're now, meron nangyaring counting, and then spying. So here's what we call counting and spying. And here's the hand sign. Counting and spying. Ganon. Again, counting. Like, meron count, o ganon, count, and spying. So, why is it counting? So, because during the time, may nangyari census. So, and then, they sent 12 spies to each tribe and to scout the land And they saw a big people lives in that land, and that is the promised land. So, God showed them and led them. But only Joshua and Caleb, you know the story of Joshua and Caleb, believed they conquered it because they saw different from they said as big as the people in the city is, but our God is bigger than all of that. So eventually, Joshua and Caleb lang and believed that they will conquer that land, which is the promised land, Canaan. And then, because of the unbelief of these 10 spies, ang mga natin, since 12 spies man kailang send, and then Joshua and Caleb lang, believe na pwede silang conquer. Because of this unbelief, Israel wanders in desert for 40 years. So 1 year at every day at that time, the spies were in the land, and they just wander, and that's what we call wandering. And during that time, all the adults are lagging. So yeah, because of their disobedience, bira-bira sila 40 years sila yan, they're wandering. And then the old generations, kaya mga adults, or kaya mga biha-biha during that time, nakabaya muli. So, sa loob naman ng 40 years, nakabaya sila muli. So, we have wandering and dying natin, counting, spying, and then wandering, dying. Yun. And then, in the book of Deuteronomy, the law was repeated. Moses, during this time, they are about to enter the promised land. Moses tells the law to the new generations because ang mga ngakil during that time, wandering and dying, 40 years sila tan wander na desert. So yakabayan mo ang mga old generations and new generations yakeda. So Moses kailangan iliabda ulit law in order for them to be reminded to enter the promised land. But eventually, disqualified Ele para enter na promised land because he himself disobeyed God. So, basically, mag-disobey lang kita ng Lord. Siya nag-get say consequences. So, yun, Moses, na Ele po entra na promised land. So, yun. We are na, Michael, L8. L8 events and happen na second session, the wandering, which is, mag-review kita ulit. Moses, Passover, law, tabernacle, feast and offering or offering and feast, and counting, meron counting, spying, wandering, and dying, and then second, law. So yun, God raised a leader named Moses to confront Pharaoh, the most powerful man on earth, to free his people, but Pharaoh's heart hardened, so God sends 10 plagues. And only God's people can spare from the plague of death, or for those who put blood lamp on the doorpost on their house, and that's what we call the Passover. And then God reveals the law to the people at Mount Sinai, and also gives them the blueprint of the tabernacle, the law and tabernacle. And God's presence dwell and where they can worship wherever they are. And God are with them. And then we also learn the offering and feast, and the 12, that counting, and we have spying as they send the 12 spies, one of each tribe, and end up unbelief of the people that God are strong enough to deliver them. And that's the wandering for 40 years, and the old generations are dying. And lastly, Moses will tell the law to the next or to the new generations, and that is the second law. So, ayun. Now we are on the third sessions, which what we call the promised land. After the second law, Moses are getting old, and suddenly he's not about to enter the promised land. So what God did is they need something. They need a new leader to lead them. So God raised a new leader, a military leader to lead them or to lead the people into the land. So his name is Joshua. So Joshua is one of those two spies who believe that God will deliver them. So yes, Joshua, a military leader. So he leads the Israel across the Jordan River into Canaan and conquering the land. So since he is a good military leader, so we will give him a salute. Joshua. Here's his hand sign. Joshua. Give him a salute. Big salute. Joshua. Yeah. So after the Battle of Jericho, and the wall supernaturally falling down, and the land is conquered, and then it divided among the 12 tribes. So divide, conquer. Divide, conquer. Again, divide, conquer. So yeah. After that, they divide among the 12 tribes, and each tribe is given a portion of the land. So fulfilling part of God's promise to Abraham. And after they conquered the land, they divided it into 12 tribes. Yeah, 12 tribes. And leads us to the book of Judges. After that, there's a division, divided into 12 tribes. Ganon. Ano yun ulit? Kasunod ulit? Joshua, salute, big salute for a military leader because he was a great military leader. And then divide, conquer, and then 12 tribes. And then we have Judges. Though our hand sign is like this, Judges, but it is not what yung judge ba sa court. No, hindi siya ganun. So it is a military spiritual leader. The people get back on the land and they get comfortable again. So they too relax and weak. So after Joshua dies, God raises a judges or a leader that gathers an army because they are being attacked again. So God raises a judge or judges to deliver Israel during the time of oppression. So when we talk about the book of Judges, we must remember this were military leader, and they actually many of them. But we're going to focus on the 3 of them. So one of those are the famous, and her name is Deborah. So he is one of the judges that God raised, and he is also a military leader, and she leads the Israelites to victory over Canaanite enemies. So the hand sign of Deborah is like this. Deborah. If you have a long hair, you will ask it as Deborah because yeah, basically a girl or a woman, Deborah. So again, Joshua divide, conquer 12 tribes, judges, Deborah, ganun. Deborah. And during this time, um, we have Gideon. Second of the three judges na we will talk about. No? During this time, Gideon said to God, he will put sheepskin outside in the morning. So if I walk outside and the grass are all dry, but the fleece, when I pick it up and squeeze it and it is wet, no, I know you really sent me. So basically, Gideon hesitant. During this time, the medias are pushing the boundaries, Israel's boundaries, and the messenger of God comes to Gideon in order to get an army because the Midianites come in year after year to steal from the land of Israel and burn the rest. So yeah, Gideon, that's the hand sign of Gideon. Gideon because no yun na nga asa lepuga kuno skin no kay we can also call him a hesitant hero chosen by God to defeat the Midianites by only or with 300 men only. So from 20 to 30k soldiers and yakeda lang is 300 lang yakeda so grabe yun. So yun. And then we have Samson. Samson, no, when we our first impression when we say Samson, a strong man, Samson. So yun yung sign ni Samson. Samson, he is physically strong but immorally weak. Easily tempted to a woman, he is strong but flawed judge, although he fought against the Philistine, but he died destroying their temple. So, the book of Judges ended up in very horrible and one of the darkest story in the book of Judges because if we read the last chapter or the verse 25, the last chapter and verse 25 of the book, it says, everyone did what was right in his own eyes except for Ruth. So we are going to talk about Ruth. Ruth stands out like a diamond against the black background because everyone did what right in his own eyes. So basically, parang taas lang sila. Parang nadila eyes, bueno sila pa sa taas but in the eyes of God, hindi. A time of chaos and moral decline, except for Ruth. By the way, the key word of Ruth is a love story. This is a beautiful love story. So she is a Moabite woman who chooses to follow God, and later she became the great grandmother of King David. So yun. Let's review again the hand sign. We have Joshua, a big salute. Divide, conquer. 12 tribes. Judges. Deborah. Gideon. Samson, and everyone did what was right in his own eyes except for Ruth, and we are going to talk about it on the fourth session. We are now on the fourth session. Again, let's review what is the first session is. You're right, the beginning. And the second is the wandering. And then the third, the promised land. And now we are on the fourth session, which is the divided and united kingdom, which covers the book of 1st and 2nd Samuel and 1st and 2nd Kings. So now, we'll talk about Samuel. So the main lesson to Samuel is that he listened to God, hear God's voice. So he was kind of like that last of the judges and the first of the prophets. So he is also the one who anoints Israel first two kings. And the people during this time demanded a king to Samuel because in that time they don't have a king than the other nations. So Samuel tells this request to God, but God said he is their king. We are now on what we call monarchy. Why is it monarchy? Because during the time or the story of 1 Samuel, the people there are demanded a king. So United Kingdom was established. And here's the hand sign of United Kingdom. Put your hand together like this, and then United Kingdom. Like this, United Kingdom. So Israel is united under one monarchy. And the United Kingdom, there is three kings. And then now we are going to talk about the first three kings. King Saul, David, and Solomon. And And we're also going to talk to learn about their what kind of heart they had. So the first king, Saul. So how do we describe King Saul? So basically, Saul, no heart. He is good at first and disqualified in the end. So King Saul or Saul, no heart. King Saul, no heart. That's the hand sign of King Saul. And then, if you could see him personal, he is very tall, he stood above all the shoulders, and strong. That's why he is a king material. So basically, Samuel based his decision on image and not on character. So Saul disobeyed God and rejected, that's why he failed. So the second king of monarchy was David. And again, how do we describe David? So basically, if you know the story of David, he was anointed when he was a young boy. And he was a shepherd, and he is known a man after God's own heart. But doesn't mean he is perfect. And hindi nagfe-fail. So, no heart, David, full heart, and then the third king is Solomon. So, we can describe Solomon as a wisdom, a man full of wisdom, and the building of temples. But eventually, he turns to idols in his old age. So here's the hand sign of King Solomon. Solomon, half heart. Again, Solomon, half heart. Why is it that like that? So here's the transition. Because of that, because of the idols, or he turns into idols in his old age, the kingdom is divided. Kanina, Samuel, United Kingdom. Saul, we have a three kings. Saul, no heart. David, whole heart. Solomon, half heart. And now, because of the idols or the idol worship, the kingdom was divided. So here's the hand sign of divided kingdom. Divided kingdom. Your hands put like divided kingdom. Again, after Solomon's death, the kingdom split Israel. So the 10 tribes into the northern kingdom, and then the two in Judah, which is the southern kingdom. So both of these had kings, and mostly are bad kings. So most kings, especially in the north, lead the people into idolatry. So yes, suddenly during those days, the kings are mostly bad. So here's the sign: mostly bad kings. So again, mostly bad kings. So since mostly the kings are bad, so God raised a prophet to bring message to the people and pronounce judgment and warning. So during this time, here's the hand sign, the sign of the prophets speak. Prophets speak, prophets speak. Ganun yung hand sign niya. So yes, that yun. Aquel el 8 hand sign del session 4. So again, kosa-kosa ka ulit. Samuel, United Kingdom. Saul, no heart. David, full heart. Solomon, half heart. And then we have divided kingdom, and then mostly bad kings, prophets speak. Great job, guys. We are now on the fifth and last session. So the fifth and last session is captivity and the coming of the kingdom. If you read the story of these prophets, they speak about God's heart to the people. And what happened is, we know that the land was divided, which is the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. So it fulfilled the prophecy of judgment first on Israel. That led the Israel scattered. So Israel scattered. That's the sign of Israel. Israel scattered. So in 522 BC, or 722 BC rather, Assyria conquers the northern kingdom of Israel. And then the people exiled and dispersed. So in 586 BC, Babylon conquers Judah and destroys the temple, and then people are taken into exile for 70 years. So Judah exiled, and then after 70 years, Judah returned. After 70 years, God took them back and placed them on what we call the Promised Land. And then there are 3 waves of return. So remember, there are 3 waves of return after 70 years of exile. And then the first wave led by Zerubbabel, along with 49K plus 49,000, or what we say, sabihin natin 50K thousand. And then Take note, Daniel and his friends, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego was there, and they are one of these people na nakasama sa first wave. And the good thing is that Daniel and his friends, they lived faithful, and even though they were threatened. So after 70 years of exile, a remnant returns to God's grace under Persian rule. So Zerubbabel Temple, he has a wonderful project, and it is to build the temple, but during this time there was a delay of rebuilding the temple. So nagkaroon ng delay, and it was unfinished, hindi natapos. So yes, this is the ensign of Zerubbabel Temple. Zerubbabel Temple, like this. Zerubbabel Temple. So again, Israel scattered, Judah exiled after 70 years. They returned, Judah returned, and then Zerubbabel Temple. And then there was a story of a dramatic confrontation between evil and good, but God is behind the good and evil, and this is the story of Esther. So, encouraging you all to read the story of Esther. It was a very great story. A Jewish woman becomes queen in Persia and saves the people from genocide. So, Esther Queen. And then we have Ezra people. He was a priest. Ezra was a priest who teach the law and restore spiritual life of the people in Jerusalem. And because after those 70 years, the people now begin to wander from their faith, because there's no one there after those 70 years, no, of turmoil that introduced God in the right perspective. So basically, Ezra, after those 70 years of turmoil, he introduced God's word in right perspective. Now Ezra love God and obey God. So, yun, Ezra people. Just the answer. Ezra people. And now, last wave of return. Remember, we have three waves of return. The first is kasama si Daniel and Daniel and his friend, and second wave, and then we are now on the third wave. The last wave is Nehemiah walls. So, rebuilds Jerusalem walls to protect the city and lead reforms. So, Nehemiah walls. And then there is a wait or a silence for 400 years. For 400 years of silence. So, wait, rise. So, after the last Old Testament of the prophet, Israel waits in silence for 400 years until the birth of Jesus, the promised land, the promised Messiah. So, let's do it again, the hand sign. Israel scattered, Judah exiled after 70 years, Judah returned, and then Zerubbabel Temple, Esther Queen, Ezra people, Nehemiah walls, and then wait for 400 years, and then Christ. So that's it. And now, from the first to fifth session, yung mga hand sign, asa kita join together. Okay? So, asa kita hunto-hunto from creation to wait in Christ. So, come on, let's stand up. Para pwede kita sa barangay. Now, after learning those storylines from the Old Testament, let's do all together the 40 hand sign, starting with creation, fall, flood, nations, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph, Moses, Passover, law, tabernacle, offering and feast, counting, spying, wandering, dying, second law. Joshua, divide, conquer, 12 tribes, Judges, Deborah, Gideon, Samson, everyone did what was right in his own eyes except Ruth and Samuel. United Kingdom, Saul, no heart, David, whole heart, Solomon, half heart. Divided kingdom, mostly bad kings, prophets speak. Israel, scattered, Judah, exile, Judah, return, Zerubbabel temple, Esther queen, Ezra people, Nehemiah was, and wait, Christ. So yun, thank you guys for being there, starting sa first session and until to the last sessions. And I hope and I pray na pwede ng studies manggets kung sa'yo share ko ng studies aran mo dagdag knowledge sa tamin kayo on how we understand Bible or walk through the Bible, especially in Old Testament, those stories, using those hand signs. So I hope and I pray na pwede ka ayuda, dali ko ng studies knowledge, dali ka natin knowledge, alin na iglesia, especially in teaching, Sunday school, or yeah, in other people, in our family, our friends. So pwede kita galusa. So thank you guys for everything, for your support and everything. And may God bless you all, and then see you soon. So I'm excited to share this inside the church, lalo na dyan sa church ng Manikaan. Thank you guys. Bye-bye.